Welcome to Mental Wellness Motivation Monday. The temperature has gotten a little cold this evening, but the sun is shining. We got a little bit of rain last night, and that's okay. The birds are out here still singing. I'm outside, and I just wanted to do this video today to be grateful. This month is almost gone, March. There's a lot of awareness that has gone on this March, and today I want to talk a little bit about self-care. That was in March on the topics for wellness and for the March events. Self-care. What is self-care? It's kind of like a buzzword nowadays. You hear a lot about self-care, but my husband and I, we were talking about our mothers as we've celebrated them and honored their memory this month. And we were talking about the resilience of both of our mothers. My mother, of course, was a homemaker, and she was married to a pastor. My dad was a pastor, and his mom was an evangelist, and she was married to a deacon in the church. But these women sacrificed so much for us. And I honestly don't know how much time they took for self-care, because it was always something to be done for someone else. And I know how I'm an advocate for self-care, even though I have to remind myself to take my self-care too. But that simply means just kind of giving yourself time for our physical health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. I know they had it on the spiritual level, because back in the day, that's all they needed was prayer and faith. They didn't need all these other things that are talked about now. But both of these women, they carried a lot of burdens. I know for my mom, she carried a lot. Being married to a pastor, and sometimes as a pastor, you're always in the microscope for one thing or another. And as the wife, you just kind of have to be there quiet and just not have nothing to say. And her health was challenged a lot. And I believe it was a lot of it that had to do with a lot of the things that she went through. I don't know. I know she had a lot of good friends and sisters in Christ that she would talk to, but in that day and age, they held a lot of things in, because there was a lot of shame associated with, like, if you were feeling depressed, or if you were feeling, your mental health being challenged, there was shame associated. And so stuff like that was not talked about back then. And I know from the experiences that my mom had, that a lot of it that she held in. And then as my theory on it is that she quit taking care of herself. And of course she was deceased at age 58. I don't know a lot about as far as my mother-in-law, but I do know she was a prayer warrior, a great woman of God. But there again, stigma, shame, and all of those things, that you weren't free to talk about situations, emotional situations, or where you even felt like you needed to have another sister in Christ to talk to. All of those things were frowned upon in that age. And self-care, you were always doing something for somebody else. And so today I advocate for self-care. I have to be intentional about self-care, even if it's in a small way. I maybe can't do something grand and travel all over the country or anything like right now, because I'm still raising my grandchildren and I'm active with church and work. But I still build in quality time for myself, even if it's just nothing but sitting on my back happy place, as I call it. Or sometimes I'll get in the car and I'll just ride down the road, or just stop and truly stop and smell the roses. A lot of times I take my Bible out and I turn the pages of my Bible. And sometimes I have inscriptions written down from my mom and my grandparents, where they wrote their thoughts down. And for me, that is the best